You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kaan Bayazit.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol. Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
I'm all right. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 72 of Beşiktaş International's The Black Eagles podcast. I am your host, Sinan Schwarting, live from New York City. It is Saturday night, actually. That's a funny little happenstance. But also, we've got a nice little coincidence here that Kaan Bayazit is back, everyone! How you doing, sir? Everyone's favorite co-host. I can say it again.
a lot better than yesterday when I was down with a significant fever, like 39 degrees Celsius, and watching the match. And it was a stressful game. Because I don't know if everyone had the same amount of stress I had for this match, because I don't know if everyone was completely aware of how important it still was to win this one.
Yeah, and that's actually an important note, I think. Without even giving spoilers, we can say that going into this match, there was quite a bit riding on it, Kaan, right?
Basically, for the players not to have to come into work too early in the summer. Yeah,
for sure, or at least not anything of consequence. But yeah, I did say that I last week's episode that I wouldn't necessarily mind those pre-qualifiers because they're kind of like glorified friendlies. Usually the quality of the opposition is not so bad. But I guess on the other hand, you can always get unlucky, right? And find like a Kharkiv, for example, as we were talking about the other day.
I really enjoyed I really enjoyed those types of games, and I really enjoyed last season or this season really previewing those. I mean, with Tranter Arge, of course, and with our friend from Austria, whose name eludes me right now, and then of course Sonia. Like we had three different opponents, three preview episodes. I love doing those, and I was kind of in a way looking forward to doing those again for this summer, simply because this time we could include travel tips for our own fans who would travel to the away games, because last time I kind of did that but glossed over it, of course, because we had the self-imposed away fan ban for our traveling fans in those away European matches. But I don't think that wouldn't be the case this season. So we can still do that for the group stages of the Europa League, which we will be playing in 100%. We can say that now.
Yeah.
Because
Beşiktaş spoiling, but yeah, indeed. No, and a nice, I think, sub point to make there is that this is a season of like liberation, right? We've come out from multiple sanctions, and I forgot about the stadium ban. But we also, of course, came up from financial sanctions, so we can spend like a proper team if we choose. We can probably can't actually, but yeah, we can support our team like proper fans. Lots of positives, I guess. Assuming we don't.
Yeah, I mean. Of course, it was such a mixed bag this season, more negative than positive. But there's a couple of bright spots, I think, that we should take away. But
and I meant more even going into next season. But yeah, we'll save this, and this is maybe a good a plug for future episode. But our next episode is going to be a season review. Our last season review remains one of our more popular episodes of all time. And
asterisk though, I may be doing an interview with Bruno, because of course we'll talk about that a little later, I think.
So maybe not next episode, but in the next episode or two, you can expect or 3 even. You know, if we get transfer information or coach, right? Who knows? But yeah, certainly very soon we're going to have a very nice in-depth season review involving anyone who wants to participate, basically. So you can send in notes via WhatsApp, on Twitter. I'll read them out loud for you guys as I have done your questions of late. And yeah, I mean, Kaan, why don't you flash them the WhatsApp number one more time on air?
Okay, so you can basically send your message or if you're going to send a text message, then just send it on Twitter. But if you want to send in a voice message, if you want to have your voice heard on the Black Eagles podcast, then just add this number 00324993331684. I'm going to repeat 00324993331684. It'll also be in the show notes. I'm sure Sinan will add those. So you can just send a voice message to that number, and then we will put it in the season review podcast episode. So yeah, just send your message there. Do I have to add anything else?
No, I mean, other than the fact that you'll also obviously hear from some podcast favorites who have already appeared in some of our hashtag after the beeps and in little segments.
And try to keep it under a minute maybe, and say your name, like say, hey guys, like this is
so and so. Maybe give us your Twitter handle if you have one.
Yeah.
And don't if you have a lot to say and you need 2 or 3 minutes, of course go for it. But it's just a general guideline. Try to be somewhat precise, concise.
Try to not be me and talk for 15 minutes.
Or me when I have Evron as my co-host. I have to fill in the void there. Maybe. Just kidding, Evron, if you're out there. But yeah, let's talk about this match now. Beşiktaş had one match to go to sort of solidify things for next season and give us a little bit more to look forward to, or at least to definitively look forward to. And this would be a home match against Kasımpaşa at the Vodafone Park. And I'll just get straight into the lineups. Of course, Karius was starting on the back line. Slight little bit of news. Apparently he was interviewed this week and said, as far as he knows, he's continuing on with the team next season. So all the financial strife and disagreements and all that are apparently, no bridges were burned. So that's maybe good news if you're a Karius fan like I know Kaan and I are. On the back line of the defense, we saw Domingos Vida and Nicolas Isimiran, with Caner Erken on the left side and Necip on the right side of the defense. Atiba Hutchinson, a lone defensive midfielder for a change, alongside Adem Ljajic and Shinji Kagawa in the midfield. It could be debated about whether it was Ljajic playing in the central mid role or Kagawa. I think one thing you can say is that they sort of interchanged a little bit and were fairly fluid, which is kind of what you'd want, I would say. I don't want to give anything away. On the flanks of our midfield, Quaresma on the right side, and that should be no surprise to anyone. Şenol Güneş's golden boy gets one last run in the rotation. But on the left side of the midfield, we saw Kyle Larin, which is quite bizarre. Guven Yalçın started up front, and one might assume, of course, that it would be Larin who was the striker with Guven on the wing, but not really. Very kind of shortly into the match, they sort of permanently switched roles, with Guven taking the striker position and Kyle Larin playing out wide. That was pretty bizarre for sure. I think we could agree on that. As far as Kasımpaşa goes, nothing really of note in their lineup. I don't want to give it too much attention. Kaan, before we talk about the match itself, what did you think of that lineup?
Necip was in it, so I hated it.
Yeah, that's the
But
rule. Yeah.
obviously, I was happy to see. Well, I would have been happy to see Kagawa and Light start together, but I have to admit that I was very unaware of the lineup until I was watching the game for like a couple of minutes, because I was like, yeah, just in this little bit of a feverish
Delirium.
state. So I did see like a predicted lineup, and I saw that Burak wasn't playing, and I saw that Gökhan wasn't playing, and Adriano wasn't playing. I did not realize Lens wasn't playing until I realized Laren was playing. So that was kind of a shock to me, like watching the game. I was like, oh wait, did you just say Laren? And then yeah. So, just the fact that Necip was playing and at right back, which is his absolute worst position. I think he's most frequently for us. He's played either central defender, right back, or of course in midfield, center defensive midfielder, which is his quote-unquote natural position. The worst games he has ever played for Beşiktaş have always been at right back, because he always gets exploited. He as soon as he is up against a player that is remotely quick, he gets absolutely obliterated. He has no chance. He's like a headless chicken. I got so worked up in this. I swear to God, I had a 39-degree fever. I think that was in 95% part due to our dear friend Necip getting me so worked up.
Yeah, it's never a good sign to see Necip anywhere, even as a substitute. Honestly, but so of course that's not going to be a particularly exciting thing to learn about. Of course, neither is Laren being in there. Yeah, some or even maybe Quaresma versus Lens, I guess, if you really want to start nitpicking. We get that, yeah.
Well, I know, I understand it. This was probably his last match at this, at Vodafone.
Now, what do you make
like,
of Burak Yilmaz not getting a final go with his father?
I don't think it's his last match, and he'll have his matches in the national team with his father.
Yeah, true enough.
I mean, I found it a little annoying. It kind of annoyed me because Doğukan and Burak weren't starting. The thing that annoyed me about it is, look, he called them both up for the national team. We still have this is important that we win this match so that we guarantee third place, which does make a big difference. Because getting that straight ticket to the Europa League or having to play qualifiers is simply a big difference. There's no ifs and buts or anything around it. So I was pissed off seeing the lineup, even though I said that I wasn't completely aware of the lineup. But I was pissed off when I was coming to the realization of that he didn't field in my opinion, strongest team. And I have to. I'll make my point later, but. Yeah, I think that that's definitely some of those choices panned out.
Oddly enough, yeah.
To say
I mean, in particular, I think, obviously, I'll just say his name right off the bat, because the first thing to happen as far as match events goes was a goal in the 10th minute by Guven Yalçın, assisted by Adem Ljajic. And so the reason I say that is that I think you could make the argument that Burak was out of form. He's had definitely three bad matches, maybe four, because he scored in the one and the other one, but it wasn't a very good match overall. So it's possible that he really felt like Guven was looking good in training.
I think has to do with Ramadan too, because he's been fasting apparently since the Galatasaray match, because it wasn't really that much, I'm pretty sure that he would have probably not fasted if we had the title to play for still, but I think that last weekend, I believe the Twins said something that he fasted or something, because I had said that he wasn't good. Was it last week or the week before? I don't remember. But anyway, so apparently, if that info is correct, I'm blaming the Twins if it's not, but he's been fasting, so I could imagine that he... that might be one of the reasons.
But
And obviously, maybe he wasn't 100%.
But so anyway, that goal in the 10th minute was actually a beautiful one, a beautiful goal. Ljajic gave him a pass, I would say maybe 30 yards out from the goal. He deftly maneuvered himself around, maybe 4 Kasımpaşa defenders, and slided it in off the post. It sort of dinged back and forth twice off each post.
Hit both posts,
and it was in the goal. So, any thoughts on that goal, Kaan?
Yeah, I thought their left back looked like shit there.
I think was his name.
Yes, actually. Yeah, and he was pretty much their man of the match otherwise. Yeah. So I think he looked pretty poor. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I was being a little delirious in my fever, but felt like he just walked through them like a hot knife through butter, and they were kind of all sleeping. And I think the left back, especially given if it was him in that position, given the pace he showed throughout the game, I think he could have easily intercepted if he would have properly dashed to cover that position. But he seemed to just walk and give Guven like a clear path to get a shot off. But I mean, I don't want to take away from the goal. I think it was for Guven, it was a great goal, good finish. A little bit of luck involved, of course, with the ball hitting both posts and still going in. I mean, on another day, it may twirl out. Yeah. But no, he had one of those days where most things worked out for him.
Yeah, and it's I mean, in a weird way, I think you could say to be fair to Kasımpaşa's defense, it was just the 10th minute. It's one of those situations where an opportunity presents itself real early on, and in that same vein, that's probably would explain where Guven's finishing was almost off as well. But this was one of those scenarios where luck went Beşiktaş's way. But it would not last long. In the 13th minute, Haris Hayradinovic, Bosnian striker, struck back, and so it was equalized just 3 minutes later. And Kasımpaşa was right back into it with Koita getting the assist. And sorry, a little correction in the middle of of saying the event. Hayradinovic is not a striker, actually. He's a midfielder. But
yeah, didn't he give the assist to Guven second?
Yeah, we'll get there. And yeah, I mean, let's just breeze through this, I guess, honestly. Yeah, in the 44th minute, so some time would pass actually between the second and third goal of the match. But in the 44th minute, Guven Yalçın would get a second goal. The ball was shot from distance. I want to say it was by Ljajic. Who took the original shot?
It was being brought back into play by Atiba, I think, and then it got poorly cleared by, I think, the guy that scored.
Someone put it onto that guy's head. He sent it back. They're not obviously giving anyone credit for it, but it could have been Hayradinovic. I thought it might have been an actual defender. There was a guy with a beard in their defense, kind of big guy. Yeah. I don't think it was Hayradinovic, actually. But anyway, yeah, he sent it back right to Guven Yalçın, who just slided it home casually. He was obviously massively offside. So I was like, oh my God, that sucks. He was offside. And then you slowly realize in the replay that it was not a pass to him, but in fact a defensive blunder. And there it was.
I was waiting for them to disallow it, by the way. I knew immediately that it was not supposed to be disallowed, but it's one of those seasons in which they make these stupid mistakes against us, I felt like. And it's ironic in a way because this is the exact goal we conceded. Well, not the exact goal, but this is the same situation in which we conceded the goal against Antalyaspor earlier in the season, the Dukara goal, where he was clearly over a meter offside, and Adriano headed it while the ball was heading already towards Dukara. lifting the offside because of that completely bullshit rule. And here we benefit from it.
In this
I still hate. I hate
you have
that
to
rule,
admit, though,
but-
in this case, it's not like it was even a pass to Gouven, right? Like the guy really did. This was a much clearer blunder.
It was an attempted
This was a much
clearance.
clearer blunder. Like he really passed it to Gouven in this case. So in that sense, I differ, but I know exactly what you mean. Though, it wasn't. All I'd say is that I don't think this was as unjust as ours, honestly, because that.
I think it's just as ridiculous. Galatasaray scored the same goal against Başakşehir as well, their winner last weekend, and I think this rule is stupid.
That was also another
it's absolutely
case
stupid.
Where it was very much like ours, the one against us.
Yeah, that one was almost the same as ours. This one's a little bit different because here the defender is deliberately trying to clear the ball away.
It just hits his head wrong.
But it's unaware of. But he was not aware of Gouven being there.
Did he? I thought he
whereas,
was trying to head it forward, and it just hit the back of his head, and it went backwards.
Yeah, but I mean, in the Antalya game, there Adriano is trying to clear that from actually not getting to Dukara or someone in a goal scoring position, and then it actually ends up there where it was going anyway. I think. So that kind of is even more counterintuitive here. He just completely changed the direction.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In that case, like the guy against us, I should say. God, sorry for the sirens in the background there. But he was passing to the man who was offside, and Adriano got in the way, and you know what I'm saying? Like, but so the intent to pass to a man offside was present. And in my opinion, that should be called before Adriano. It even touches his head in theory because he's passing to a man offside. Whereas in this case, I don't think whoever that was, Atiba or Ljajic, like I think it may have even been an attempt at a shot. You know what I mean? And no, that couldn't have been a shot. No, it was definitely a pass, but not to Gouven Yalchin.
We need everyone on this.
Yeah, with his color commentary, exactly.
Yeah, with his recollection ability.
His youthful memory. But anyway.
His youthly brain.
Anyway, there it was. Beşiktaş is up 2-1 in the 44th minute. And again, only 2 minutes later. So this was like the 46th minute. And I think there was only 1 minute of extra time given anyway, which struck me as odd, to be honest. But Gouven Yalchin struck again. Again, the assist was credited to Adem Ljajic. This time it was much more of a intentional assist.
Clear assist.
Go ahead.
This wasn't Al Atsana. This was like just here, go tap it in. This was like a free goal.
Yeah, exactly. He just had to. He beat his man to the ball, but the ball was placed very well for him to do so.
Placement was.
And that was it. Halftime would dawn on the match with Beşiktaş up 3-1. And so things were looking good. For the scare that was put into the match by Kasımpaşa seemed to have been quelled. Beşiktaş seemed to have been taking a commanding lead. In the 55th minute of the match, so there were no halftime subs. And I guess, sure, why not, right? The team is up by 2 goals. Although I would make the argument there were some weaknesses that were present.
Necip was absolutely horrendous.
Terrible,
and he should have been taken off even if you don't place anyone else on. It was that bad.
Really, he played a role in their goal, I thought.
I said that, he did, 100%. It was like, that was on him, that goal, because the guy walked past him like he wasn't even standing there. It was absolutely ridiculous. And right before that, he had done like almost exact same thing. Like in the time span of like 2-3 minutes, he got completely... can I swear on this podcast?
Go for it. I'll beep you out.
He got completely f***ed in his ass twice in like the time span of like, I don't know, 220 seconds or something. And no, he was so shit. He was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
And
he got caught off. He was going forwards and not coming back on multiple occasions as well, putting way too much strain on the other guys on the back line.
Yeah. Plus, the worst thing is better to play with 10 men than to play with 11 men when your 11th man is that much of a liability, because if you play with 10 men and somebody else is going to cover that ground, somebody else is going to try and make up for that gap.
At least they're not expecting someone to be there, in a more surprise scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So this was terrible. So I made a remark of we're playing with 9 men at halftime or something because of Laren being absolutely non-existent and then Neji being the shit's absolute so dogpile shit. I haven't seen a worse performance this season. That's not a joke. This was the worst individual performance I've seen from a Beşiktaş player all season.
I would agree.
I made the remark we were playing with 9 men, and you said something along the lines of, well, like jokingly, like, oh well, Najib kind of counts as -2 though. And you know what, you are right, because he does, and I'm not even saying that to be spiteful because of the point that I just made, because it's better to even play with 10 players than with, because of that reason, because now he's expected to cover that and he doesn't. I mean, Karim Hafez was having the match of his life. I remember everyone was gassing him in the chat, and Salih was gassing him, and this is the kind of player we need, and blah blah. And I was like, you haven't even noticed him up until this moment. I mean, maybe everyone has, but I know Salih fucking didn't. And that's the thing. Like in the second half, as soon as Najib came off, and as soon as before that even, as soon as Lens came on, we barely saw Hafez anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe also, I mean, obviously he used energy up, but still, it was quite noticeable.
Yeah,
how
you
that
can't
changed.
credit anyone on that left side when they're coming up against Necip and the laziest, Quaresma, who's never going to come back and help anyway, or make much of an effort besides diving at a man and potentially getting carded. But anyway.
I mean, if they're going over the wing that Janner is not on, then there's a reason behind that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. In this case, Necip did not track back most of the game. But yeah, so in the 55th minute, Quaresma came out and Jermaine Lens came on, I suppose to sort of spell that whole scenario. In the 62nd minute, Heinz came on for Hajdinovic. Tobias,
we remember him, of course, from his stunning goal.
Came from Sarpsborg. I was going to say Moldova. Yeah, Sarpsborg scored a screamer of a goal against us, in fact. But yeah, so he entered the match.
No, that was all Karius.
Yeah, right. Sorry,
Sinan.
Of course. Yeah, now that version of a troll has gone very quiet. But anyway, 62nd minute, Heinz comes in. 67th minute, Koita would score, assisted by Ilhan Depe. Suddenly things are a little bit shakier. Looks like we might be in trouble.
Which indirectly came from Neji being shit.
Yeah, exactly. In this case, he simply didn't track back. There was Vida had to overcompensate and cover space because he didn't come back. It was a big disaster.
And it more directly came from Lens giving the ball away, trying to counter. But it's a little bit further down the road. The pressure initially came from Neji being shit and then not clearing the ball properly, I think. It's just when Neji is playing in the defense, there's this aura of panic.
Always. He's just... Anyway, but so... In the 70th minute, Ilhan Depe, who had just assisted Kasımpaşa's goal, came out for Venyo, and in the 71st minute, Necip Uysal would come out of the match, and you'd think, wow, finally we can sort of breathe more easily. But this would be complicated by the fact that he was taken out for Mustafa Pekdemek.
Mustafa? That was fine. Mustafa did his job.
He did, because Jermaine Lens came back into the right back slot, I suppose.
Yeah, Lens took the right back slot, like you said.
And so that, it helped there, but obviously, Pekdemek wasn't like a huge net positive contributor.
He held the ball for a couple of moments to alleviate pressure, and he
had some bad passes too,
in some combinations. He didn't do anything bad.
Yeah, he had a couple
that's-
bad passes where he gave the ball away, actually, which I
Didn't
noted in the group
particularly
chat.
notice it, but if you say so, then I'm sure you're right.
I definitely, I like to make those zingers when I can. But in the 80th minute, Adem Ljajic got himself a yellow card. Very unfair, I thought.
I don't know. I was
no! It was Jeremy
That wa-
Lenz's second one that was unfair, actually. Sorry. But yeah, Adem Ljajic got himself a yellow card. I don't even remember that one, actually.
I think that's where when Sally said that he should have gotten a red.
Oh,
and
yeah! He stopped,
So-
I guess.
I did not actually watch that back and in real
neither.
time. I was like, "What is he doing?" Because I was like half dying at that moment.
Yeah, your fever was getting pretty bad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah.
But so in the 80th minute also, so in that same minute, Ozan Oziakup would enter the match for Shinji Kagawa as like almost a troll by Shenol Gunesh in a weird way. Although a weird other side note is that Ozan was called up for the national side by Shenol Gunesh.
Again, yeah.
And so then he would come into the match in the 80th minute for Shinji Kagawa. And he would sort of sparkle, if we're going to be honest. He played very well. He immediately came in and had a very nice long ball onto Adem Lajic's foot. And I think Adem was kind of like, whoa, where did that come from?
That
I
was
didn't see that
amazing.
coming.
That's we haven't seen that also. That pass is something we haven't seen an entire season, and suddenly, I think Adam. Yeah, I think he was like, "What the?
What was
fuck is
yeah?
this?
How did that?
Somebody who can give a proper forward pass behind me? What is this?"
He was probably both shocked by just it being there, and then also probably like, wait, how is this just happening now with 10 minutes left in the season? But yes, sure enough, Ozan would pretty much provide the exact spark that Kaan and I have been yammering on about that's been lacking in the midfield most of the season.
He had like 3 assists, like 3 almost assists in like
in his 10 minutes.
14
Yeah,
minutes.
that's 14 we get
Yeah.
time. Stipe Perija would enter the game for Koita in the 84th minute, a Croatian striker who I know I recognized him. He's been around the block. In the 91st minute, Jermaine Lenz would get his first yellow card, which was deserved. Rough tackle. But in the 94th minute, he would get his second yellow card. And this was a very weak call on the edge of the box. There was minimal contact, a little bit of floppiness, and somehow that resulted in not just a yellow card, but a dangerous one because Jermaine Lenz was out. There was still, about a minute and a half of extra time to play.
Yeah, it's a dick move. Last match of the season, the yellow cards don't have any consequence, but a red card does. So it's a complete and utter dick move to send somebody off like that in the final seconds of a match of the season, basically suspending them for the first match of the next season.
Just a classic TFF referee move for this
But
season.
he was, but Kalkavan was having a shit match all over. I mean,
He really was.
You didn't mention that penalty that we didn't get in the first half, which was like.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look at what Galatasaray got in the Turkish Cup last week. Look at what they've been getting. They've gotten 10 penalties in the second half of the season alone.
Who was that clown that was brought down in the box?
That was Lajc.
It was Lajc, yeah. It was chopped down. Oh, yeah, the defender completely missed the ball and then just chopped his knee. It was a complete penalty. There's not even, you don't even have to recollect Galatasaray, honestly. That was just an obvious penalty call. It was crazy.
VAR even was checking it and didn't tell him to come look, which I don't get. It's like, I don't know. It's like,
I know who.
I thought like did I miss? Like I was thinking to myself, did I miss something? Did he like properly play the ball first?
No.
But if he even touched the ball, then somebody at the TFF still has to come and explain to me why Galatasaray got a penalty in the Turkish Cup against Akhisar, because that guy clearly played the ball and Diagne just went down like a little sack of potatoes.
Yeah, that was
looking for a penalty.
So weak.
Whereas here, I don't think he got the ball, and Lajc got tackled, and otherwise he could have scored or had at least had a shot 1-on-1 with the keeper. So I don't really. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's been whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's been that kind of a year for this team with these referees. And yet again, It's
No, I don't want
important
to
to
blame
remember.
referees, but it's
It's important to remember that Trabzonspor was fighting with us for that third spot. Um and I don't know. Trabzonspor has an interesting following, some celebrity fans that might want things to go a certain way. But at the end, look, that was it. In the 95th minute, the final whistle would be blown. Beşiktaş would end 3-2 victors over crosstown rivals Kasımpaşa. Just kidding, rivals.
rivals. Ugh.
Just
Black
kidding.
sheep, though. Black
That's
sheep.
a rivalry more for the level of, we could say, of a Fenerbahce, for example. One of those mid-table Istanbul sides, if you will. Just kidding, Barack, for example, if you're out there from the Football Alaturka podcast. But so speaking of Football Alaturka cast, Kaan, one more time, my friend, could you tell everyone what this means for us? We talked about how this secured third place for Beşiktaş over Trabzonspor, who were creeping on us. How does this end? What else happened this week that's of note?
Nothing happened of note really in the top four, which is or the top five, I should say. That was already the top two was determined, of course. Başakşehir drew again. They got only 10 points in their last 9 games, and I was covering my notes on yesterday, earlier today, and I was taking notes on the Başakşehir match, and just noted down that they got 10 points in 9 matches, and they got 57 points in the previous 25 games. So they averaged 2.28 points per game in the first 25 matches, and then they averaged like 1.17 or something, or I don't know, I have it on Twitter, but it's like ridiculously low in the last 10. And Galatasaray won the title with on average 2.03 points. So if all Başakşehir had to do is just keep their average above 2.10, so if they would have just gotten like an average of like 1.5 points or 1.7 points. Well, I mean, look, they lost the title based on a single point, I guess now. Well, on a head-to-head, but whatever. Anyway, so Galatasaray going to the Champions League, obviously. Başakşehir will be playing those playoffs for the Champions League, but they'll be playing Europa League qualifiers, and then probably going out again before the group stages, like they have been doing. We are qualified directly for the Europa League group stages thanks to our dear neighbors Galatasaray winning the Turkish Cup, meaning that because they are already qualified for the Champions League, that direct tickets for the Europa League will go to the next in line in the league, which is third place, which is us. That means that Trabzonspor now get to play one less round of European qualifiers as well. They will also go into the Europa League qualifiers, and then Malatyaspor are headed in as the final team to Europe. Will also be playing Europa League qualifiers, but they will have to play. I guess they will have to play like 3 qualifying rounds or something.
Yeah, but a debutant, if you will. Yanni Malatya is debuting in.
So that will probably not end well for Malatya.
You wouldn't assume so. No, you would not assume so.
Well, we can only hope. I mean, if they get some favorable draws in the qualifiers and if they get some wins there, some can pick up a little bit of coefficient points, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Doubt they will get to the group stages. If they do, that's like a miracle, and that should be commended. That would be a huge achievement if they manage to get to the Europa League group stages.
But definitely a tip of a cap to Yanni Malatya for what has to go down as a very successful season for them. Their first season up in the Super League, and not bad. They'll premiere in Europe next.
Despite not a very strong second half of the season.
Yeah, they collapsed. One should remember that they were as high as, I think, second place in the first half of the season. I mean,
I think a lot of teams disappointed in the second half of the season that were doing well in the first half, like Konya, Malatya, Göztepe for sure. And then, of course, who am I forgetting? Konya, Malatya. Kasımpaşa, of course, had a massive drop-off in form because they were in second place for a long time. You're thinking of Kasımpaşa.
Yeah. Well, Göztepe, remember, if you recall, for a very short spell, for like 2 weeks, had gotten into like 5th place or something. There was a moment where they they looked like they could actually. I mean, it seemed inevitable, if we're going to be honest. But so anyway, speaking of Giuseppe, Kaan, tell us a little bit about the other side of the table. I think we're still waiting on some results, correct?
Those matches are being played on Sunday. We're recording this on Saturday evening, so we cannot yet say anything about that. So if you want like a proper description on how that's all panned out, you'll have to listen to this coming week's episode of Football Alturk, and we'll cover that in depth, because that's really the only thing left to talk about in depth for that episode. Because of course the title race had already been played, and Galatasaray played an unimportant match. Beşiktaş played an unimportant match. We'll cover the Beşiktaş and Trabzon games, but we'll be mainly focusing on that relegation dogfight. So the Erzurum, Göztepe, and Bursaspor games, we will be focusing on those in the Football Alturk episode. That will be recorded probably on Monday, so it should be up Tuesday or Wednesday.
So stay tuned for that. Last note I'll make about the standings is that both Galatasaray and Başakşehir did slip up on the last match day, which means that had we beaten Galatasaray way back when, remember, we had a bunch of things set up, and one of those things was that then they would have to drop points again one more time, and they did so.
Yeah, but they played a B team, though. I mean, they played almost a complete B team against Sivasspor.
True.
With Mudat and with Ismail Cipe in goal, who was terrible.
Yeah. True. But I'm just saying. Apparently, Sivas played very well too, though, supposedly. But anyway, I didn't watch the match. I don't want to comment on that.
Against the B team.
And I don't want to give Galatasaray any of our airwaves, those suckers. I actually, so funny side note, my upstairs neighbor here in New York is a Galatasaray fan. He's not a Turk. I can't actually establish where he's from, but I thought maybe it was Romania, for example, because like maybe I thought there was a Haji connection, but no, he denied that. He's been a little bit standoff. He's not telling me. But anyway, I did wish him a congratulations in the hallway the other day. But
I love how he's all like, I'm not going to give them any time on the airways, and then he's like talking about them. For
I just mean in real life, I'm personable. I'm not a jerk, but on here, I have the right to say no, we're not going to do that. But so to bring us back on topic, let's talk about stats one more time. The stat flash. So, in this match, surprise, surprise, Kasımpaşa led the way in terms of shots and shots on target. They had 16 shots to Beşiktaş's 13, 6 on target to Beşiktaş's 4, but Beşiktaş had 60% of the possession to Kasımpaşa's 40, if your math really sucks. 653 passes completed by Beşiktaş to their 439. 90% accuracy on the part of Beşiktaş. But actually, Kasımpaşa completed 84% of their passes, so not bad at all from them. 12 fouls committed by Beşiktaş to their 10. 1 yellow card. And wait, how could there only be 1 yellow card when Jeremy... They said 1 yellow card and 1 red card, but didn't Jeremy Lens get 2 yellow cards in order to get the red? I don't know.
Yeah, but
whatever. But also, Ljajic had one.
So it's 3 yellows.
Yeah,
really.
Ljajic had one too, so that's an incorrect stat. Not a good look here, Google.
No, it turned into a red card, so I guess that's how they see it.
Oh, so they combined both of them into 1 red. Wow, that's that's interesting math. So they're only counting Ljajic's 1 yellow. Offsides, 2 apiece. Corners, 5 to Beşiktaş's 3. Kasımpaşa had the advantage there, despite having much less of the ball. So that's interesting. They had many shots and a few corners, I guess, as a result of those shots, despite having much less of the ball. I will make a note, because I really doubt either one of us gives him the man of the match for this week. Karius had 3 saves at the end of this match.
You bastard, I was going to give him the man of the match.
Oh, wow. Well, okay, let's just do it, man. All right. Kaan's highlight is going to Karius then. Tell us about that.
he kept us in it.
He did.
He saved.
He did.
In the end, he made like 2 massive saves, like in the same position, and then like right at the end, he made a big save too.
Yeah.
And he had already made a couple of big saves before that.
And he had one series where he made 2 saves on the same play. He saved it once, the ball went back to the same guy, and saved it again. And like the first one was an amazing save, and then the second one was, I mean, man, Son of Asgard material. If we're gonna be serious. I mean, I know we've always been fans of Karius, so it's not going to come as a surprise to anyone for us to do this, but I am thoroughly impressed with this guy. Generally, you know, considering the narrative of him supposedly being broken mentally and all of that, but literally, you know, his performances on the pitch have been borderline heroic in this second half of the season. He's saved us many a point.
He's on a good stretch of form for sure. I mean, if he can carry that over into next season, then he's worth $8 million.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And let's not forget, he's still fairly young. He's turning 26.
Yep.
So, shouts to Karius. And since we've so seamlessly segued into these highlights, boy, what do I do? The obvious pick would be Guven Yalchin, given that he got himself a, hat trick. But I might go Ljajic. 2 assists and a generally masterful performance. And most impressive to me, personally, was proof that he could coexist alongside one Shinji Kagawa very effectively. Second week in a row.
Who was good too, I think. I really liked Kagawa.
Yeah, I was
today.
almost going to give it to him
yesterday.
just to really confuse people, but I figured we should do a little Shinji watch, one final Shinji watch of the season as well, in which we maybe talk about what we hope for as far as the offseason and all that. But before we do any of that, yeah, I do want to say that I thought Ljajic was masterful on the ball one last time, and he ends the season with, was it 10 goals and 15 assists? 9 goals?
His total statistics for the season are 9 goals and 14 assists in 32 appearances. So he has contributed to 23 goals in 32 matches. Those stats are better than Sosa when we won the title. Just to put that out there.
And this is Ljajic's first season. That was, you're talking about Sosa's second season with us. So Adem Ljajic has had a fantastic debut season with Beşiktaş. Of course, that will have to be the priority going into the offseason, is making sure he signs on the dotted line, sticks around. There are already rumors that they've created an installment plan to pay him and all these things. Obviously, we're not running with any of that stuff yet. Stay tuned, of course, for all the offseason news here with Beşiktaş International and the Black Eagles podcast. But yeah, masterful game. Kaan, what about a low light? That's easy. I think we've even covered it.
I don't want to talk about it.
We did it. Okay. Necip is your man, right?
I don't want to.
It's got to be your man.
He just needs to go, man. Like, he has no more use for this club. Like, I don't care that he has the homegrown status. I don't care that he has played 300 games for the club. He is, like, he, at points in his career, he was a useful player. But I always felt like he had matches in which he did a job. But this season, I feel like he hasn't had a single decent match, let alone a good match. He has been shit in every game he's played. I am quite certain that he wasn't actually injured yesterday. I think he just couldn't handle the pressure anymore, couldn't handle the heat anymore, and just faked an injury and got himself subbed off a la Tolga Zengin in his heated moment days. You know, remember when he was getting himself subbed because my knee hurts or whatever.
Yeah, I can't take these kicks. Pedro Franco, come take the kicks for me. Yeah, terrible. I actually, as like, we don't usually give highlights of our episodes during the very episodes we're mentioning, but I'd like to recall your comment that this was maybe the worst Beşiktaş performance of the season. Yeah, I think he gets that award.
The individual player, yeah. Because I actually think that apart from Laren, who was pretty meh, and Necip, who was terrible, I thought that almost everyone else from the starters had a good game. Like, there's obviously players that stood out, like Laiç.
Also, here's my low light, Kaan.
Yeah,
Let me steal your thunder before you finish that thought. Quaresma would actually get my.
Yeah, he wasn't too good either. Yeah. He was. Oh yeah,
weak.
He was pretty shit because he. I was getting annoyed at him too because he just can't beat his man anymore. He's lost. It's time. He needs to go to I've said it, and and everyone has scolded me, but I said it. He has to go to MLS.
It's time.
It's time.
You know, his pace he's lost it. You know, and the sad part is that he can't even really perform that role of the super sub anymore. You know, he's really just lost a step.
I mean, obviously that might just be a match fitness thing because he hasn't been playing that much, and maybe it may improve if he has but I don't know. It's been like this for the entire second half of the season, really. Whenever he's played, and it's like, you know, when Quaresma, when he can't beat his direct opponent to get his cross in, then what's the use? You know,
there's none.
There's not much. I mean, obviously he scored the winner last week and all that. And I'm not saying that he has no use anymore, but it was just frustrating when he's up against a back that has decent pace.
And look, man, it's his final match under Şenol Güneş. Probably his final match in a Beşiktaş shirt. Maybe, he walks off after he's subbed out. He walks off. There's no interaction with fans. He leaves the pitch. He goes into the locker room. Good riddance, maybe. You know, if it's time, it's time.
That's disappointment. To me, that still shows that he cares, because there's people saying that he doesn't care, and clearly he does still care, because otherwise he wouldn't
do that.
He's a petulant little baby, of course, but it still shows that he's invested to some extent, and I think he probably imagined his farewell, his swan song at Vodafone Park differently than this, and I kind of felt sorry for him that it had to end with a relatively poor turnout. People were saying that the turnout was absolutely horrendous, but what people forget is that on the television, the hard camera facing the main tribune, like that section is usually the emptiest when there's low turnout because those tickets are more expensive.
And it's a meaningless end of the season match on a Friday.
Yeah, when the cameras panned around the stadium after the match, when Sinan Güneş was saying his goodbyes, which I think even, you know, even we who have been yelling for him to leave for months, I don't think any of us didn't get emotional. Obviously, we have a shit ton of respect and affection for the man, but it does not mean because you have that you can just turn a blind eye to the self-sabotage that he's been doing for the last 2 years. But
psychological terrorism.
But when those cameras were panning around, you did see that there was, I mean, I don't know how many people there were in the stadium, but definitely more than 10,000.
I think actually the count was 12 or 14.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I can look it up after if you'd like, but it's low for Beşiktaş. We should always have at least, you know, 23,000 people in the stadium, even in an unimportant match that doesn't, which we say and which people think, but it was still important for us because we had to win it to be sure that we finished in third place. And I know that for people, third place might not be that important, but for our next season, it is important. That's gonna impact our, you know, potential success next season. It's gonna give us a longer training camp. It's gonna give the new coach more time to work with the team before having to play an actual competitive match, which is, I think, positive, especially if the man who we all think is coming.
Should we talk about that, or should we save that for?
I'd like to talk about it because I don't think I don't really want to talk too much about the match anymore. I think there's enough said.
That's it. Well, one
maybe
last
just-
thing. Shinji watch. Hashtag Shinji watch.
Yeah.
Give me a byline on his performance.
I think he had a solid performance. He was very tenacious, worked really hard, and I think he kind of stepped up his combativeness to what happened against Trabzonspor. I think he didn't want that to happen again, losing the ball that would lead to a counter goal. So I had the feeling that he was putting his body in a lot more into the physical duels and being more careful not to accidentally lose it. And he's just such a... I mean, if you look at the difference between Leitch and Shinji, I think the main difference is just the way that Shinji distributes the ball from one side of the pitch to the other, and how seamlessly. And he's not the fastest player in the world, but he's so quick. He turns quickly,
and he doesn't lose the ball. Like even when he's surrounded, he finds a way to get rid of it and not.
He did really well, at that, and I really liked him playing there. I think he had a good game, but then of course when Ozzy came in and he gave another. Did a really good job too, of course. But no, I think what mainly stood out for me from Shinji again was him and Leitch looking for each other a lot in the combination, and that was always the main source of danger when we were on the ball. When those two started combining, that's when Kasımpaşa was in trouble. Usually, if an attack ended poorly, it would be when somebody else got involved. And then the other thing that stood out to me, which I don't know if I was just being delirious in my fever or if I actually saw what I saw, but when he came off, he seemed to just walk straight past Sinan Güneş. Didn't acknowledge him, I think. And then I think he went to slap hands with Guti or with one of the assistants.
Interesting.
And I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know if anyone else noticed that or if I'm imagining that, but I had the impression that there was a little bit of bad. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, let's be honest. Sinan Güneş has kind of been disrespecting Shinji for weeks, for months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unrightfully so. And
and to the detriment of our team ultimately. Like if we decide that we want him to re-sign with us and he decides not to because he feels like he's not guaranteed a place in the starting lineup. There's only one place to finger point.
Do you think a player with his work ethic expects a guaranteed place? I think he just deserves a fair chance, which he didn't get, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah. By all means, yeah. If he's outperformed by someone else, maybe so. But again,
Adam Leitch outperformed him. We cannot deny that.
I still think.
But they can function together.
Exactly, and I still think, as far as like your best 11 players, he's probably in the top 5. So you want to find a way to squeeze him in there somehow. That should certainly be a focus.
Easily, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to be, charitable, I guess, but why? I mean, why? Yeah, exactly. That sucked. That was for me the nail in the coffin with Sinan Güneş. Although I think it's pretty clear we were done with him well before then, if we're going to be honest. But
did you notice that, Sinan, or did you see that?
I don't really. I didn't recall it. I remembered you making a comment about it and thinking it was good. I was happy if he did it.
Oh, it kind of put a smile on my face. I was like, yeah, you stick it to him.
Yeah, man, he's out of here.
Even though it's his last match, and but
it's none of his business.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's the thing. There's like, he should show respect to the coach. Well, why should he be? Why Shinji is the last person? Yeah. Shinji Kagawa and maybe Jermaine Lens.
Yeah, Jermaine Lens.
I mean, how did he get? Look at how he disrespected Lens by not starting him in this match. What's the point?
So that Kyle Larin can play on the wing? What? Come on, man.
I mean, maybe the thinking was that Larin is probably playing his last match too. Okay. I mean, he's probably gonna get either loaned or sold.
Hopefully.
So maybe that was the thinking, and maybe I'm thinking that's how I'm trying to justify it by, okay, it's probably Croatia's last match, so he has to play. It's probably Laren's match, so he probably has to play. So that's understandable, I guess. Güven it's probably, it's probably going to be his last chance to start for a while, unless Burak gets injured or something. I don't know. Just trying to rationalize it.
Well, yeah, the
but-
Barack thing we don't quite understand, but yeah, a lot of it makes sense. Like, I hope Necip, that's the last time we see him. Certainly, he's not going to make the national side. Oh my God! Imagine Şenol calls him up to the national side.
I would love that. I would love that.
Then you can get. I was going to say you can get injured on duty, but that's taking it too far.
Then all those Galatasaray fans who are justifying Emre Taşdemir getting called up for playing 5 games. I can be all like, Necip played 27 games for Beşiktaş. What are you talking about? He's of course it's justified to call him.
Yeah, he's a star, man. He's a stud.
Oh, he didn't play much, but he played good. Yeah, the only match that I recall him playing in is a game where he should have gotten sent off twice against Bursa.
For a side like
one
Beşiktaş,
of those many,
even great players can come off the bench. I'm just kidding. Well, so Kaan, this is it for the season. That's our final season review. But before you take us out, there is obviously one final talking point here, and I almost let you take it away, but go for it now. Tell us about who we may or may not expect to be the next coach.
So, obviously, like a week or 2 ago, I wrote a piece about it, and I also tweeted about it. I spoke about it. I think we mentioned it on the podcast too. That Mircea Lucescu was very close to Beşiktaş, and that was no bullshit. I got that from a very reliable source close to Lucescu himself, so not a Turkish source, nothing like that. But like a couple days ago, or I don't remember when this news started coming out, the Abdullah Avcı stuff, when that started coming out. I think that started coming out after they lost to Galatasaray. So like a bit before that, I had asked for an update on the Lucescu thing, and I got a reply, and the reply was, he's been asked to wait. And I was like, that's interesting. So I'm like, I inform you guys. I was like, look, this is what I've been told. It's quite interesting, wouldn't you say? And then, like, I think someone asked, like, what do you think's going on? Do you think they're negotiating with someone else? But obviously, I don't have any knowledge. But then later that day, I think the former Haber 1903, now Duhulye, came out with an exclusive that Beşiktaş were meeting with Abdullah Avcı, the Başakşehir coach, obviously, which so many people love and admire. And obviously, I've had an outspoken opinion on him. I think he's a little overrated, to say the least. That's not saying that I don't think that... no, actually, maybe overrated is the wrong word. But anyway, I'll get to that later. But anyway, so it looks like then the news started trickling in. Like, I think it was that same day or like the day after, but that news started like trickling in that Beşiktaş were meeting with Avcı, and that he was now the number one priority, that he's the number one candidate, and that like Lucescu had kind of been shoved to number 2. And usually, when people say stuff like that, especially Turkish media, I'd say like, oh yeah, you know how they are. They're just making shit up. But I just thought that, well, not when Haber 1903 starts, talking about it, then there's something going on. But when NTV are saying it, and when whatever all those Turkish sources are saying it, you're kind of like, yeah, whatever. They're just rehashing, or they're just making up stuff to get some attention and all that. But then, because it lined up so perfectly with what I was told of Lucescu being asked to basically hold on the line, please, while we connect your call to Mr. Fikret Orman, and then keep him on the line for 5 days with elevator music. And maybe you can insert some elevator music. But no, so that just, to me, that was immediately like, this makes sense now. This lines up. So now the news is kind of intensifying that Avcı is probably going to be Beşiktaş's next manager. Göksel Gümüşdağ also spoke about it, who is the president of Başakşehir, and there were. He also said, for example, that Emre Belözoğlu really wants to end his career at Fenerbahçe. So next season he wants to play there to finish his career there. Basically saying, he's done a lot for our club. We'll let him go if he wants to because that's his wish. And then, like that same day, he also said some stuff about Avcı, basically saying, "Look, we still have one match, which was on yesterday. After the game, we're gonna sit with our coach. We're gonna see what he wants to do." And the language he used was kind of like, "This man has done so much for this club. We will not stand in his way if he chooses that he wants to take a next step." That's how I interpreted it. I think that, for example, if they had won the title, that language would have been very different. I don't think they would have been willing to let him go then. Obviously, you can't really keep a manager against his will. That's a lot more difficult than players. Their contracts work differently. But anyway, so now the rumors are very much intensifying that Abdullah Avcı is probably going to be Beşiktaş's next coach. Obviously, Orman has maintained a very good relationship with Avcı over the years as well. And he hasn't hit the fact that he's a fan. He hasn't hit it's been clear that Avcı has been on that short list for a long time to be the successor of Güneş. Personally, until recently, I did not think it was a realistic thing because of the fact that he had just re-signed a new contract with Başakşehir just a couple months ago, a 5-year deal. Obviously, I was still under the impression that they were going to win the title back then. So, yeah. So, a lot has changed in the last 9 or so weeks or 10 weeks with them having that implosion, and a lot has changed. The fact that they didn't win the title again, and that they've came up short again, is gonna make it easier for him to make that jump. So that's basically that, and I'll be talking to Bruno Bottaro, of course. I think we've had Bruno on before. He's been on the Football Turka podcast before. I don't know if he's been on the Turkish football
He gave us an after the beat once.
Yeah, it's possible. So, but the thing with Bruno is he used to work for TRT World, and he's done like reports and stuff. I think he's visited like Konya, spoken to people at the club, at the facilities and stuff, and like with Aykut Kocaman. And he's done that with Başakşehir too. He's been to their facilities, had a sit down talk with Abdullah Avcı, got like, he had like a proper conversation with the man, got to see inside the person, his football philosophy, all that kind of stuff. So he's going to have an interesting perspective on him as a coach. So I'm going to talk to him about that, just, to like we do, for people who have forgotten, like our transfer preview talks. Obviously, this is somewhat a domestic transfer, but still, I think it's going to be very interesting to get Bruno's take on him.
Because we need as much info on our coach.
Plus, Bruno is such a fan of Avcı. I think it's good to get someone who is very full, like to offset me, who is I'm not opposed to us getting Avcı, mind you. I've always kind of been an opponent of the exaggerated praise that I feel he gets. I think he's a very distinguished manager. Obviously, he's arguably tactically the best manager in Turkey, at least. Okan Buruk is pretty good too, and there's a couple of others who have tactically are quite good. But Avcı is a very sound tactical coach, but he's not flawless. He's not Diego Simeone, as some people make him out to be. But no, it's interesting. The main worry I have with him is just the ability or inability to cope with pressure, and that's going to be one of my main talking points with Bruno for sure. And I think that's going to be our main talking point going into the season up until the point where he starts proving that he can cope with the pressure of working for a big club.
Yeah, fully agreed.
If he comes.
Yeah, I guess there's still an if somehow. Well, and so obviously stay tuned, everyone. There's so much to come as far as a new coach, transfers. I think we need to do a season review. We should probably even get Evron in here to do a little overview of some guys he thinks we should take a look at. We should talk about positions we need to fill, all of that stuff.
We might.
So we have a very busy off season coming in.
We might even be able to do some tribute podcasts for people that will be because this is really like the end of an era, which I mean this really is, because this is the end of the Sinan Güneş era. This is probably the end of the Ricardo Quaresma era. So, I mean, let's say that Atiba would retire. That would be an end of an era. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think he's definitely still going to play another season, and I think his contract automatically extended and rolled over. So, but I mean, that's like, for example, Atiba would be completely somebody who you'd want to make like a tribute episode for, and I think
absolutely,
I think we're going to do one for Sinan Güneş because we've had so much negativity about him the past 2 years, especially this year. But let's also look back and reflect on the good days, because we had so many good days with him too, and they deserve to be reminisced about a little bit. And let's do the same about Ricardo Quaresma, because the same thing goes for him, really.
I mean, we're talking about club legends one way or another.
Yep.
But so Kaan, take us out, because we've got a lot to look forward to this summer.
You know what? No matter how bad a season ends or is, when that summer comes around, the beginning, it's just like refreshed energy. And by the end of the summer, when you still haven't done the key transfers you need to do, you're just so pent up with stress, and you're like, why the fuck don't we have a number 10 yet? Why the fuck don't we have a goalkeeper yet? God damn it. But I think this summer is going to be a little less stressful, because for the reason that you pointed out, financial fair play. It could potentially be a little bit of an easier summer. I don't expect us to suddenly start splashing big money, but I think that we're going to be able to pull that trigger. Just one more thing I want to mention, because it is from a good source. Well, I mean, Haber 1903 is arguably the best source for transfers.
The only source, maybe.
You know, them and Ibrahim Seten from Bipsport are the best sources on Beşiktaş transfer news. But Haber 1903 or Duhulia, I'm just going to keep referring to them as Haber 1903. They reported that we are interested in Darko Lazovic of Genoa, 28, almost 29-year-old Serbian winger. So obviously I went and spoke to our resident Serbian football expert, Sonja Niksevic, and I asked her about Lazovic, and she liked the fact that we were interested in him. She rates him, and obviously we know that her expertise is she actually does have a decent expertise. I also asked my other friend Nima, who covers the Serie A, who's a big Inter fan, and he said that he's a decent player too. And Sonia said something along the lines of, well, he's really a good player, but he's somebody that goes kind of unnoticed. He's kind of under the radar, but he's a good player. Really, really quick. So I could see that work in this Avcı system, because obviously he's going to want to opt, how he plays. He starts from
high energy, high pace.
Yeah, high pace, pressing, building up from the back, and obviously being very dangerous on counters. And for that, you need quick wingers. And that's another reason why, if Avcı comes, it's almost certain that this was Ricardo Quaresma's last game, because Quaresma does not fit the profile of an Avcı winger at all. Jermaine Lens does.
This could be a renaissance for him.
Maybe.
I mean, actually,
if it doesn't come too late.
Guys will. Like Dorkan certainly does. I hope he doesn't feel like Necip does, because that's his reputation.
Necip will. He will utilize Necip, I'm sure. Maybe he can. But then I don't think that Avcı likes ticking time bombs, so maybe not.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. It's all a mystery. Maybe you can ask Bruno.
I don't think he'll be too fond of Caner either, if I'm honest, because Caner's kind of a defensive liability, and Avci
Yeah,
really
increasingly
values
so.
that. So, yeah.
Well,
I
there's
don't know.
much to discuss. Definitely remember to ask Bruno. Uh,
For sure.
what he thinks about his relationship, or what he thinks his relationship will be with guys like Najib and John Aaron and all them.
Yeah,
Even Ozan, maybe. That's going to be a curiosity. But so there's so much to talk about this off season, and I actually, in a weird way, kind of look forward to it. So much of this season has been bogged down by negative circumstances. So in a way, it's like a fresh start. So yeah, man, I'm excited.
For
but
me,
tell these
those
people
are
how to follow us and
always
stuff.
the most fun things. Yeah, follow us on Twitter at Eagles_podcast. Follow Sinan at Sir_Rice_a lot. You can follow me at Rosarian RAZZERIAN. And of course, you can follow our good friend Evran Akman at BGK Fan. And we have tried to urge him to.
Fan
oh,
of
sorry.
BJK.
Yes, I have been trying to push him over the last couple of days to change that ridiculous Twitter handle, that 12-year-old Twitter handle. But he seems to be he seems to be worried that people will be able to see what he writes, even though that's and associate it with him, even though he doesn't write anything wrong. Yeah, I know.
I've never seen him say anything even remotely controversial. Like even in the group chat where you have guys like full of controversy. Yeah, he's got to work on that, but yeah, follow us all nonetheless.
We should congratulate everyone though for getting his first commentator gig this past week. Commentating in the US Division 4. He was commentating on a Division 4 game.
NPSL, I think it's called.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. For sure.
We gave him his first steps.
I mean, if his football career doesn't work out, then I've told him I think he should be looking into, that kind of stuff.
I can say be in USA should hire Evran and I think I could be the play-by-play man, and Evran, naturally he'd be on color commentary because that's just who he is. A colorful character, anyway.
I'm sorry, Sinan, but that lineup graphic does not stay on the screen long enough for that.
That's true. Lots of names. But anyway, man, we tell us what to do with ourselves now.
I think just enjoy the summer. Hope for a better 2000, a better tail end to 2019 and a good early 2020. I think it's gonna be. I think that the doom and gloom that we had for the majority of the season with the financial situation, I think all of that has now kind of like a little bit improved because just the fact that we managed to somehow comply with financial fair play, which we're all baffled about.
It's a bit of a mystery. Maybe John O'Carr can come explain it at some point.
You know what? John was just as baffled as I was. And I don't think it'll be clear until we get to see like the end of the year report, fiscal year, which will be coming out soonish because that closes on the 31st of May. So I think that'll be available pretty soon. So I'll be in touch.
Some more summer fare then for maybe John.
Yeah, maybe
another
we can
John
have
episode.
That would be great. Everyone seems to really enjoy whenever John comes on to talk some finance. I was surprised by.
It just speaks to our knowledgeable, educated listenership.
It does, because I think that's one of the major things that have always annoyed me about football fans in general, but like Turkish football fans especially, like their absolute ignorance to the financial side of things. Like they just expect, like Galatasaray fans just think it's normal that they signed Diagne for 10 million.
Yeah,
like,
in the midst of a huge.
Oh yeah, we got Champions League money. Oh no, that doesn't. It's not that simple. So I'm very happy that those episodes do as well. I did not expect them to, but I'm very happy that they do. I mean, I think they're very fascinating. I love listening and trying to understand what John is talking about. So I'll be in touch with John, and hopefully we can get him on again in the summer. That would be great. And then we'll hopefully do some exciting transfers, and I'll try and find some experts and try and get them on. Hopefully we'll get some interesting previews early on in the season for the European matches once the Europa League draws have come in, and let's talk about just between you, me, and everyone. Let's just chat a little bit about how we see the team shaping up already, and there will be friendly matches and all that kind of stuff, and we'll be able to relax because there won't be the stress week in, week out, controversies with one team getting all the penalties and all the...
we don't have to talk about refs
calls
for months. That's great.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, maybe if one of them goes and suicide bombs himself in Vodafone Park.
Yeah, just that one last FU for like if someone's retiring on their way out.
Yeah. That's what that was. I think Egehan was asking that, like, when before the kickoff of the Galatasaray Başakşehir match, like, this isn't Cüneyt isn't retiring, right? Because otherwise he can go out on a bomb.
Exactly.
No, but that's like a legitimate question, because that has happened in the history of Turkish football, where a referee will ref like this is like in his last year, and then like he'll get like an important derby and he'll like do some really strange stuff.
He knows he's on his way out anyway. God.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta love that.
Yeah, go out in a blaze of glory.
Well, speaking of which.
But anyway, Sinan, take us out.
Yeah,
man.
speaking of a blaze of glory. Go Beşiktaş! One more time! I guess I'm gonna do this all summer, so you can get used to that still. But yeah, man. Everybody, it was a pleasure to serve you guys this season with all the latest, all the news, all the recaps, all of our hot takes.
Oh, wait. Sinan, wait. Danny Pierce.
We've got a question?
You know what?
Oh, no. Okay.
I was just like, he knows.
Yeah, Danny Pierce. Yeah. I'm pointing to my eyes and I'm pointing to your eyes. I see you. I see you, Pierce. I see you, Pierce.
Thanks for listening, Danny. Please don't stop giving us your feedback, and that goes for everyone. Keep giving us your feedback if you agree, if you disagree with it, anything we say. We would love more interaction from the fans. We see you downloading, we see you listening, we can see those statistics, but we'd love some more interaction. Questions. Sinan's been doing a great job with those, answering questions on the podcast. But just keep those coming if you have any questions, any concerns. You know what? If we don't know the answer, if you ask the question in advance, we can always find out or try to find out. So any interaction, go. Go
Beşiktaş! One last time. I feel like we got
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.